The world was that? You can't just
Well, for
throw
those
that at
people
the
who are,
beginning of the stream.
if someone joins at the beginning, then they deserve that treat.
You know what?
When I,
I'm gonna use my sound effect that I added to our soundboard. Oh, sorry.
yeah,
Go ahead.
when I first did my solo podcast where I'd walk around town talking to my AirPods about the football day, I would say, and the first person who listens to this podcast knew no one would ever listen to it, but I would just drop those in there.
Love that. Love that. Well, we are at 6 p.m. So intro music is starting up. That's always fun. Well, we are live tonight. You just got our intro music. You got to see Scott do a fun dance, and we are talking gambling lines for week 12. But before we get into that, let me tell you who I am. I am Addi, the Nard Dog Narder, the Duck League champ on social media, and League Champ is offering their one and only Ballsville Bash rest of season contest, and that closes tonight. So if you are on this stream and you aren't in that contest yet, be sure to get in there. You got a chance of $50. We got 40 in there, and it is going to be a fun opportunity to make some money. Tell them about yourself, Scott.
What's up? It's Chonks, your Chow Chow champ, and we're here to talk bets this week. So bouncing back off of not a great week after our streak of good weeks has ended, but feeling refreshed just being on the show and thinking through some of our early thoughts for this week 12.
Yeah, and that brings us into it. Let's hit the bad beats of the week. We are going to start it with the baddest beat. This guy's not on our out list, but he might as well be out because he is officially benched. The Justin Fields hype has ended. It hurts a little bit. I wanted to believe. I thought he could make it happen. To be honest, he got let down by the receivers. Adonai Mitchell alone dropped about 200
Oh my
receiving
God.
yards that game.
Terrible.
But 117 is not 130, sadly.
Just watching that game was as painful as I expected it to be. Should have stayed away. We made that grungy line. Terrell Jennings didn't even play. So
Didn't make any
leave those
difference.
Thursday stinkers alone.
Yeah. And next up, speaking of stinkers, we watched the Minnesota Vikings game, and me advising you to trust that J.J. McCarthy will recover is predominantly losing me money. So that Minnesota minus 2.5 you had, and that Justin Jefferson over 73.5 both look kind of silly.
Wow, the market is at an all-time low on JJ. The stock just keeps going down and down. It's like catching a falling knife at this point. So, time to leave most all of that team alone. Though I do like something around Justin Jefferson this week.
Okay. I'm excited to hear it. Next up, we had Cincy at plus 5.5. That was 35.5 points too small. So sadly, sadly, that didn't do it for us.
Yeah, and then you love DK. I swear I saw his name lower down this list today. DK Metcalf continues to not get it done despite getting crushed. Sometimes I feel like you make those bets where you're like, I can't lose both of these because either this outcome has to happen or that outcome has to happen. And here's a perfect example of where you might have thought that, but sure enough, neither of these lines hit. So stay off Pittsburgh. That team is not worth playing around with. They can compete from week to week. It's a typical Tomlin team, and it's a team that's going to somehow fall out of the playoffs the last week of the season once again.
Yeah, don't tell me that because DK is on this list later because the Chicago defense, despite showing out, is still one of the weaker units in the NFL. But of course, Kenny Gainwell and Darnell Washington are the main players on that. We're gonna take one break from the bads real fast here. Did you see the Amon Ra podcast with him and Equinemius talking to Darnell Wright this week?
I glanced at a clip probably on something, so I didn't catch what actually happened.
Yeah. It was they asked him about his weight because he has in there that he's 268, which is just markedly false. And they like pressed him on it. They were like, hey, we really want to know what that is. And he's like, okay, it's 311. It's like,
Damn.
Oh my goodness. It's a big boy.
Oh man, you're just putting dudes down again last week. Definitely one of many pieces on this team. You see DK get hot on the first drive or two or three catches, and then all of a sudden nothing for the rest of the game. Even the quarterback change didn't help him last week. Aaron Rodgers is going to run around with a not fractured but pretty banged up wrist. I don't know. What a nightmare.
I heard the second the doc said Percocets, he was good to go for this week. So moving on, Atlanta -3.5. The quarterback change did not help us in this one. Kirk Cousins is Kirk. We don't like that.
Yeah, that was horrible, but also the defense didn't show up to play, which I think we've thought that Atlanta's defense is pretty good throughout the season. We've definitely seen glimmers of hope. A home game that they really needed. Did the travel affect them? I do find some of this conversation around traveling to international locations. Like, it's 2024. They're on premium jets. They're only going a little bit further than if they were going to go to the West Coast. So is that really an excuse here? Like, I think the defense just didn't show up. And as soon as Penix went down, we were screwed. But, I mean, Penix going down has nothing to do with, 392 to Bryce Young?
No, it really does not. And speaking of games we did not call, we were sure that Detroit was going to end up pulling this one out. To be fair, the Eagles got their weekly ref call to keep them alive in this one. That A.J. Brown absolutely 10-ply soft pass interference call against him that I was sure was a pass interference call on Detroit. Didn't help us there, but Amon-Ra also didn't get to 75 or 77.5 here. I wasn't watching that one too closely. He was bobbling.
It just was not a good night for him or Goff. A ton of passes forced into Amon-Ra. Didn't come up with multiple. They barely ran the ball in the second half. I mean, they're just forcing passes left and right, 3 and outs. You'd have a good pass to Gibbs and then nothing from there. It was a terrible night. Jared Goff continues to prove that he's far inferior out of the dome. But the good news, especially for all of you redraft owners of JMO, Amon-Ra, Goff, he plays in the dome for the remainder of the season. And I think last time we saw Amon-Ra have an off game, he came out with definitely a different level of energy, and I expect that again this weekend. So I think that you can jump right back on Amon-Ra. His line's up at 80 or 81.5, and I like his TD prop as well. So bounce back from Detroit. JMO continues to get it done, especially without Laporta, but we know who's the wide receiver one on this team.
Yeah, we do. Josh Jacobs, we had the over on whatever. He was doing great in this one, 5 for 40 in the first quarter, and absolutely did not hit it because of injury. We don't need to talk about that one too much. CeeDee Lamb dropped that second TD. It's, I feel like there is a lot of good to say about Dallas, so I don't feel bad about the process on that one.
Yeah, I think if he catches that second TD, he potentially hits his over, but he was a main target in the offense. And that's how things went. So,
yeah. You entirely froze for that entire take, so that was a nice, fun
that's
break
what I
there.
figured.
But it gave you a second there. But we'll move it into the good because there was still good. Even on our bad weeks, we have a couple good calls here. Scott is ducking out, but this was his call. LA Rams -3.5 felt like a safe line, and it was. So that was great to see. They got it done. Um, Next up, we had JSN under 104. Um, when the line's 104, it's easy to take an under.
Yeah, but he ended up like right on it, right? Was it 104 that he?
Oh, yeah.
He ended up with, and that number came down pretty dramatically from when you called this.
Oh, yeah.
I believe I saw it around 97.5 at game time, and that did end up hitting. So good job, good identification there.
Yeah. We get on these early. That's why we're on the mics on Thursday night, not on Saturday morning. Also because we both had plans. So Rome at 59.5. Rome real cashes in.
Yep, Rome continues to take care of these numbers under 60, and we get another opportunity this week. So you can see my new Rome shirt this week I got. So very excited. And I think that's a game we'll talk a little bit more about later.
Oh, heck yeah, it will be. And last up on our good calls this week, shorter good call segment. I mean, this is the first time we've had under 5 in this one, but Bijan rushing line, at least that one looked good.
Yeah, he got it done on the ground, had two TDs, and of course Algier sniped the third. So had a 2 TD alt and 3 TD alt on him. The 3 running backs I really liked in the morning were Bijan, Cook, and Jacobs. Jacobs' backup ended up with 1 rushing touchdown, and I believe there was another one that was stopped at the 1 that they ended up throwing in for. And Bijan had his 2, and James Cook ended up with 1 as well in that blowout. So, and Josh Allen had what, 3 rushing touchdowns? How many rushing touchdowns did he have last week?
I thought you had 2.
Too many.
Well, let's move it in to the news and notes. Made a transition sound. So we have a couple players out here. Marvin Harrison continues to terrorize my home league team by not playing or playing poorly when he does. That one we're going to talk about a bit more later, despite your best efforts. And next up, we got Dalton Kincaid. He is still out, and Keon Coleman isn't playing in the matchup tonight either.
Yeah, another healthy scratch. It's not like, I mean, we saw Shavers have the 1 deep TD catch. Shakir did nothing. Probably a decent bounce back spot for him tonight. But yeah, no Kincaid again, and no Coleman, which they talked about a meeting last week, but why is this continued? That's my concern.
I think it's because he's not very good, sadly. He's fun, but he's not very good.
No.
Jaden Daniels, still out. Another week of Marcus Mariota. The more they
he's on
play
bye,
poorly,
so all good.
Yeah. Well, I see that we left that one on the show sheet, but he is out throughout the bye, so don't start him.
Is he going to play again this season? I mean, that team is not going to make the playoffs. They don't have a lot of offensive weapons. Kind of seems like a punt season.
I wouldn't play him again this year if I was a GM. Like, give him the time off. That arm injury looked nasty. Like, he already got beat up this year. Give their team a bit more time to mesh. But I don't know, man. I can't tell you why GMs do silly things like that. I mean, they're talking about Garrett Wilson coming back too. And speaking of players that you would rather just see get healthy.
Yeah. Well, what do you think about Joe Burrow? It looks like he's going to play on Thanksgiving, as we were told a couple weeks ago.
I think that's crazy, but I think it's kind of dependent. Like, we'll see if they manage to pull out a win this week. I guess I can see the rationale that the division's still winnable. Like,
Sure.
It's not necessarily unwinnable because Pittsburgh is a flawed team. They might lose this week to Chicago. Screw you, Aaron Rodgers. And Baltimore hasn't been on their game this year. Like, this could be an opportunity for them, but boy, do I not feel confident about throwing out the literal face of your franchise to potentially get hurt in a lost year.
Yeah, that's true. It's a tough thing. I mean, I don't want football to become basketball, right? Where we lose our superstars in
True.
the second half of the season. And um, I don't know, they paid Burrow a lot of money to play football. He's healthy. They got 5 or 6 games. The fan base is at a low. At this point, the cat's out the bag, right? He's healthy. I mean, it'd be crazy
Yeah.
if he didn't play at this point.
Yeah, and they've kept everybody waiting. So there's a good shot. I'm rooting for them regardless, since he's a fun team. Love a team with no defensive players. But next up, we got another team in orange. J.K. Dobbins is out for the year. We're just gonna list my entire home league roster on this injury segment. It was fun. We didn't see a ton from RJ Harvey. I think the buy window is firmly open right now, so I think he's worth a buy high. But we'll see. Sean Payton has made people look silly before, and he started McLaughlin and basically gave him all the goal line work last week.
Yeah, but Harvey still had multiple playable fantasy games this year,
Sure.
even with Dobbins on the field. So I think this will be a great post-buy rookie bump opportunity. He's not going to be the RB. He's not going to be the A running back who gets 80% of the snaps. Like that just is his offense, but he can do a lot with 60%. And I think he'll have the ball in his hands a lot. We've seen him catch the ball a ton. No reason that doesn't continue.
Yeah, I would agree. And speaking of your love for Amon-Ra St. Brown and JMO Williams, I agree with it. Sammy Laporta on IR. We will likely not see him for quite a bit of time, and that is concerning, but it does mean that that offense gets more consolidated.
Yeah, definitely more consolidated back injury. He's going to be out for a while. So JMO and Amon-Ra to light it up. I think Montgomery, they're talking about getting more carries. Gibbs, it's always a great option. And keep an eye on Isaac Tesla. Hasn't done much this season. Has been pretty electric when he's gotten the ball, but he is going to have more opportunity potentially down the stretch, especially if either other of the receivers miss time. And then, of course, there's always Khalif Raymond stealing all the wide receiver 3 looks that we really want to be somewhere else.
Yeah. Khalif Raymond's one of those typical Amadeus Zacchaeus, Greg Dortch sort of guys that really just puts you in a spot where you're like, come on, put my player on the field. But speaking of guys that are clearing the way to lead to consolidated target trees, Tyler Higbee on IR. This probably opens the door for Ferguson, but saying that, I know Colby Parkinson's going to have a full breakout game this week.
Well, Ferguson is just that name we keep talking about. Played him last week, over 18.5. Even though I lost on alts last week, hard to not go back to the drawing board this week. And Ferguson's one of those players who he's as likely to go for 30 as he is 18. I mean, he's done it on one catch multiple times. We are going from 4 tight ends down to 3. Parkinson did get it done in the revenge game. But Stafford threw for less than 200 yards last week. So there weren't a lot of opportunities. They got it done on the ground. And this week they play, Tampa Bay, who is attacked through the air. So let's go lose money on Terrence Ferguson again. Now that you said that, we got to put that on the list.
Oh, without a doubt. Love that. And, we love just sliding into a tight end. So, Joe, actually, you know what? This is why I made a soundboard. Yeah, I know. Producer energy right here. So, moving past that, we had Michael Penix, and, the Penix is long, but long for an out period. Oh, geez, I butchered the hell out of that joke. Penix is out for a while.
Yeah, he's having surgery, right? And I believe his timeline's a minimum of 9 months. And he's 3 or 4 Achilles injuries. So not looking good. Kirk Cousins not panning out. That franchise is going to have to go with another quarterback next year. I mean, who knows if he'll be healthy to start next season.
Yeah, it's a weird one because, they can't go quarterback again. Like, I feel like I've seen enough from Penix to believe, but like, do they have to? Probably. It's a weird situation they find themselves in. It's almost like they shouldn't have wasted all that cap room on Kirk Cousins.
One more year after this on him.
Yeah, one more year.
So probably roll with him, have Penix come back when he's healthy, and then draft a QB in the later rounds that, has some upside. Younger,
Dylan
maybe.
Gabriel type. Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. I know that doesn't
why not
sound
Shuck
sexy.
upside?
Yeah. Yeah, Shuck's doing a lot better than Gabriel. Okay, Scott.
Tiny sample size.
Yeah, you just shucked that take. Drake London also out for a bit here. Ben
PCL
McCown did a good injury segment on Substack for him. Definitely worth checking out there. And we are moving in to the in players. So yeah, that's gonna be fun. That's what I'm gonna do every time now. You threw a dart here and put Jackson on the list.
Jackson Dart, he's back this week. He's progressing through the concussion protocol, and I expect him to be starting this Sunday. So he'll be back on the field. I'm sure he's going to continue to be crazy. Maybe we'll see him slide a little bit more. I wonder what his rushing line is going to come out as. If the line gets too conservative, I definitely think you have to consider the over. But I would expect him to be a little bit more conservative, sliding a little bit earlier. I wouldn't be betting him at the previous lines.
No, I can't imagine that I would either. Next up, we got BTJ. It's looking like he might play. BTJ scares the shit out of me. I don't know what to do with that guy. Even if he plays, I feel terrified about using him.
Yeah, coming off of high ankle sprains, receivers, running backs, quarterbacks, they don't tend to bounce back right away to their initial strength. I do think that he could come back maybe with a little bit of a mental reset following some of his early season performance. Hunter's no longer there. He's got Myers by his side now, and Parker Washington remains Parker Washington. I don't know if he will play this week. He's been a limited participant, so he's been running around, but not for sure. I would look for other options this week, but as an owner, I'd love to see him on the field.
Yeah, same here. And we were having an argument in, or not an argument, but just a combo in one of our trade chats. I believe it was Dynasty Dog Mike and I were talking about him versus. I'm totally losing the name. I think it might have been like JMO. No, it was George Pickens. He got a BTJ offer for George Pickens, and he was about to auto decline, but he felt weird about it. And I gotta say, I'd rather have Pickens at this point.
100%. BTJ hasn't done enough this year. He's flex at best for now, unless he shows some sort of meaningful change. We know it's within him. I still consider him to be a pretty strong dynasty asset, but something's off right now.
Oh yeah, totally.
And
agree.
It starts with Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, that's you got some love from the chat last week on the Trevor Lawrence hate, but that's an easy win. You're calling to the right audience there. Next up, Bucky Irving is likely to come back on the snap count this week. It's looking promising. Might be a little early to say so, but the arrow's pointing up.
Yeah, talk of snap count. It'll be good for him to be back. I'm sure he'll get some touches. It might be a three-headed backfield this week in his first week back. But as a Bucky owner, you've been holding him for a long time without any play and any news. So it's good to see him returning, or at least close to returning. And good luck to all of you in the playoffs. Hopefully you found a way to scrape through while your second or third pick did not do anything for you most of the season.
Yeah. I mean, started strong and immediately disappeared for a long period. Next up, we have somebody who never even arrived this year, Aaron Rodgers. He is playing the Bears this week because he refuses to not come to Chicago to get those boos. I really do feel like Aaron Rodgers, the second that he hears it's a pain tolerance thing, just gets excited. So going to continue thinking that he is likely to start this week. He was limited in practice, and broken left wrist isn't causing him any trouble. So let's move it into the games. And for the games, I'm going to even hit a... Oh, I was going for drum roll, but that'll work.
I was waiting for what you were going for.
Yeah,
Wasn't
yeah.
expecting the joke button, but hey, working in the sound effects.
As we can see, I need better labels on my sound effects.
Got to get you a little deck.
Yeah. Oh, I would love it. I love deck.
Big deck.
So, yeah, big deck energy. So we are moving into our Thursday night preview, and if you're listening to this post view, so tell us how right or how wrong we were in the comments. I will probably respond if I have notifications turned on. So we have the Buffalo Bills at the Houston Texans, -5.5 to Buffalo, over under of 44.5. How are you feeling about this one, Scott?
I think it's going to be another ugly Thursday night football game. Buffalo had a great game the other day, punishing an inferior opponent. They now take on Houston, who is competing to remain in the playoff conversation. A home game on a short week with one of the best units on the field. I mean, Josh Allen is excellent, and we know how well him and Cook can run that offense. But at the end of the day, I would say the best. Kitten.
The best.
This is what happens when you have a kitten. The best unit on the team is Houston as defense. So I expect the game to be close. I think I would lean towards, you said 5.5. I've seen it down to 5, so the smart money is going in that direction. So I'll be rooting for Houston silently in the background tonight, trying to save up for the weekend. I haven't been doing very well on Thursday.
Yeah, I'm taking a little bit of action this week. I think Josh Allen, and you mentioned Houston has a great unit, especially on the defensive line. When you have a good defensive line and a tactical scrambling quarterback like Josh Allen is, despite the fact that he does rush a lot, they do tend to let a lot of those yards be scramble yards. I'll take the over on 34.5. It's one of those ones where last year we would have thought this was a smash play. This year, he hasn't been running as often, and I think with less receiver play, which he's gotten less of, I'm inclined to take that over and feel like it's safe money.
Yeah, I really like your take there at the end, too, where you're talking about like less alternate options. So he's got to do a little bit more.
Yeah, and you got a Woody for Marks?
I got a Woody for Marks tonight. He's been getting all the opportunities, about 90% plus of touches. He hasn't been getting it done with efficiency, but he takes on one of the worst rush defenses in the league with Buffalo tonight. So I like Woody Marks over 63.5, and I like even a little bit of sprinkle on 80 and 100. I believe 100's like over 3-1. And if he can get a couple of explosives, he'll get enough carries in a close game that we're projecting. I expect him to have a good night.
Yeah, I like that call. The next one we have in here is Pittsburgh at Chicago. I'm kind of on the same page on all the Buffalo Houston, so we can just zip straight by that. Pittsburgh is +2.5 at Chicago, 45.5 over under. And we're going to start with Scott's least favorite take of the evening. I threw on here the DK Metcalf anytime touchdown at 2.5 or at +150. Feels great. I feel like it's good money. He's due. The Bears defense looked good last week, but I assure you they get takeaways, but they are not the best unit in the NFL. How are you feeling about DK Metcalf?
Gosh, I'm just tired of watching him be the same level of lame every week. When's the last time DK had a touchdown? Maybe he is due. Oh, wow, I have him pulled up still, even from last week. All right, he hasn't scored a touchdown since week 8 against Green Bay, coming off of a streak where he had 4 touchdowns in 4 games. You're right. I don't think all that much of the Chicago defense. But I just feel so bad for you every time we get here on Thursday and DK's name is in the bad.
Yeah, this is my last hurrah on DK Metcalf. If he doesn't make me happy this week, then we are taking him off the show sheet for at least 1 week, and I'll be back on that train the second that I get one of his bets wrong. Next up, we have another receiver. I have DK or DJ Moore at more than 37 and a half receiving yards. I know that feels like a bad line because they haven't really centered their offense around DJ Moore, but there have been opportunities for him over the past few weeks, and the Steelers' defense hasn't been incredibly terrifying. They've had a couple good weeks, but they're kind of like the Bears' defense where they'll make like certain plays that keep them in games, but when you look at the unit as a whole, they aren't really gelling.
Yeah, the defense hasn't been very good, especially in the secondary. I know Jalen Ramsey locked
Weird.
up Chase last week, but we really haven't heard much about Ramsey all season long. So maybe he's stepping up in spots. I see you have DJ Moore here you talked about. My problem is that I love all the other names because I'm a left wing slappy. So of course, Luther Burden, I'm waiting for his line to come out. He finally overtook Zacchaeus this past week and had his season high 5 targets. Loveland, we definitely are seeing Komet catch the ball. He was one of the leading receivers for Chicago last week, but Loveland still continues to get it done. 4 or 5 targets a game, always available for a big play. And I saw him targeted in the end zone once again last week. Definitely would even peak at his TD line. I'd assume it's somewhere in the plus 250, 3-1. I mean, he's as likely as anyone to score a touchdown down there. And then, of course, Rome rule applying once again, 54.5. We got to take that one. So this would say that we should be just taking the Caleb over passing yards. But what fun is that?
Yeah. I mean, the Caleb over passing yards always does feel good. I feel good about it this week. I think it could be more of a rushing battle than we're anticipating. But the thing about Jalen Ramsey locking up a receiver is Rome does tend to play on the outside. The Bears love 12 personnel. That leaves DJ Moore or Luther Burden or Cole Kmet as the safer option. So despite the fact that I'm totally with you on the Rome rule and you got a really cool shirt on, so I'm inclined to agree. Um, I'm taking the other side of those bets.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, maybe Rome rule not going into effect this week, but he'll always be fun to root for. So it's a win-win.
Sounds good. Who do you got next year on the board? I see you snuck in a team.
All right, yeah, wanted to sneak in the Giants and Lions game. So I think this is a great bounce back spot for the Lions, who were embarrassed on Sunday Night Football. They tend to respond pretty well, especially under Dan Campbell, and they're taking on an inferior opponent in the New York Giants. We are going to see Dart back. I do expect when he gets announced as in tomorrow or Saturday, this line will move from -10 down to 9.5 or even 9. That's when I'm going to look to place my bet. And I think Detroit's going to take care of business at home. I really like Amon-Ra over 81.5. As we saw earlier in the season, he came off of a game where he didn't work up to his expectations. He didn't achieve his expectations, and he was not happy about it the following week. Kind of like him, maybe first TD. They get on the board early this week. So yeah, I like Detroit.
Love that call, and that's some prescient advice there, Scott. The look at the line after a starter gets ruled in because Vegas overreacts just as much as the public. They're trying to be the smart money book, so when they get that rule in, you could expect almost a 3-point swing. I wouldn't be shocked if you did see a 3-point swing and you were looking at -7, and I would take that 100 times out of 100. But let's move it on to another huge line. We got the New York Jets at the Baltimore Ravens, -13.5 to Baltimore, over under of 45.5. And I put this one on here because I'm going right back to the well. I'm ready to get hurt again. AD Mitchell over 25 or 28.5.
Wow, it was terrible rooting for him last week as he dropped all these balls, but leaving his number nearly what it was last week with improved quarterback play. Yes, Justin Fields was getting him balls that he was dropping, but had to go up and make the tough play. Maybe Tyrod will be able to get him a couple more easy ones, and he's the best receiver on the team at the end of the day right now. Garrett Wilson's not playing. Mason Taylor is as average as people were expecting him to be coming into the season. And that offense needs to find rhythm somewhere. So I don't hate it, actually. I'm sure it's going to feel horrible on Sunday, but I'm just not planning on watching this game too much. I think we picked Baltimore as our survivor pick for the week, and I just need them to take care of business here against a far inferior team. So I see you put Lamar's rushing yards again. You're willing to go back as well. I'm exhausted.
Yeah, as you can see from DK Metcalf, there is not a well that I'm not willing to go back to, much like there isn't a hill that's small enough for me to die on. So I'm going back to Lamar's 34 and a half. Any other year, we would feel like this was a smash. I'm willing to believe he's healthier, and you know, there are two situations where I really believe in rushing quarterbacks, or three actually. One is when Pat Mahomes needs to win a game. Otherwise, not Pat. Two is when there is a strong defensive line, because that means that the quarterback's going to be pushed up in the pocket and they are going to have the opportunity to rush the ball at least. The last one is when a defense is so bad that it is more than likely that they can do whatever they want and the receiving options are mid. In that case, screw it. Lamar could get one rush for 40 yards against this defense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm projecting a Lamar breakout to come, but when I take a step back and I look at the schedule, because I really wanted it to be last week, but I was like, no, don't force it. I was like, maybe like next week. That's really the one to look at. But this game, they should take care of business. Is coming as he smells the turkey. I think he can do a lot this week. I don't know if Lamar needs to run, but then they play Thanksgiving against Cincinnati, a terrible defense in a really important game with Joe Burrow coming back, an offensive slate. I'm going to save my Lamar money for next week.
I love that you have Lamar money saved up. Let's move it on to probably the most exciting game of the week. I would argue there are a couple options for most exciting of the week, but Indianapolis at Kansas City, playing in Arrowhead, -3.5 to Kansas City, over under a 50.5, feels like a fantastic spot to bet on the Chiefs. I see here you put that you like their money line. I'm going to take it one further and say I like the under in this one, because I think this game is going to be one where Kansas City puts their foot on Daniel Jones' neck and reminds him that he used to play for New York and look bad.
Yeah, okay. I thought that the over under looked pretty high too. So when I was coming up with one of my takes we're going to talk about, I was like, why is this 50 and a half? So I like that. I do think that Kansas City is going to take care of business. This is a must. This is a must-win game, and as you just mentioned, I don't know if you had read down the sheet or not, but Mahomes rushing 22 and a half yards in a must-win game. I mean, let's definitely go in on that bet this week. And I even like a sprinkle on his TD at plus 375. Plenty of reason to run the ball down across. Yeah. So anything 300 plus for someone in a must-win situation like Mahomes in a 50-point over-under. So I like him. And on the other side of the ball, a line that stood out to me was Alec Pierce, 3-1. Last year, he had 7 receiving touchdowns, and so far this year, he only has 1, despite him playing as well or even better than he did last year. Regression would say that he's due, and at 3-1, I mean, it's probably worth at least half a unit on that.
Yep, I don't hate that, but I do have a question for you, and we're going off the book a little bit here, but I'm just interested in your take, because we haven't talked Colts a ton on this show. Like, normally when we're talking Colts, we're talking Jonathan Taylor, Lines, Pittman, or whatever. But what do you make of that wide receiver room? Because I found it to be one of the more interesting conundrums. Like, Michael Pittman coming back and being above average, if not very good, is expected. But we've seen Pierce essentially just put a chokehold on that wide receiver 2 role, and Josh Downs has faded into the abyss. Like, how do you feel about their receivers? Because before this year, I heard a lot of love for Josh Downs. I thought it was a little bit unwarranted, but to be honest, like, I didn't think it would be like this.
I think they all have their own roles within the offense, and you didn't even mention Tyler Warren. So Alex Pierce, definitely your deep ball threat on that team. Michael Pittman working the middle. He's been better this year than some might have expected. I mean, he was going mid 90s in best ball drafts. Josh Downs, a great possession receiver, third down receiver. Kind of like your Jawan Jennings type, but maybe a little bit better of a player, a little bit better of a prospect. So the team's been very healthy this year, and because of that, there haven't been a lot of opportunities necessary. I mean, he's gotten a couple touchdowns, he's gotten a bunch of first downs. He comes in when they play 3 receivers, and then Tyler Warren also can kind of do anything. So a lot of mouths to feed, and that's, we haven't even talked about Jonathan Taylor, who's been getting everything else done this year. So it's hard to hit. I have Pierce in a league, and I don't need to start him this week, so I'm not going to force it, but missed a good opportunity the week before the bye.
Yeah. I mean, he's just an interesting player because this ceiling does exist for a guy as athletic as him, but you normally don't see a breakout kind of like Devontae Parker-esque from many players. So I'd really comp him similar to that. But we have the one, the only, the Scott skip of the week. The drum roll just doesn't want to work. Awesome, really fun. I love the suspense.
I was waiting for it. I could see it on your face that something was coming, but
I clicked it.
I thought you had made a custom button. I thought you had like a voiceover that was going to say Scott's skip of the week. This week's skip is this week's skip is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville Jaguars -3 at Arizona. The over-under on this is 47.5. The reason I say skip on this one is because I believe that these are two poor teams. I see Jacksonville -3 here. I don't know if that's the side you take, but personally, I think I would actually take Arizona to win this one. Okay, you're shaking your head like you are not on the Jacksonville side. No. Yeah, actually,
I'm never on the Jacksonville side.
I kind of like Arizona to win this one. Definitely like the +3 in the money line. So now that you've made me talk about it, I might go find a way to be interested on Sunday. This whole rooting against Trevor Lawrence thing has been going well. And we have McBride in our remaining big eliminator team. So I'll be rooting for him to continue to keep that team moving on.
You know, a fun stat I saw this week, Brock Bowers, who's the number 2? It's Jake Ferguson. The number 2 tight end is closer to Kyle Pitts, the tight end 18, than he is to Trey McBride, the tight end 1. That's crazy.
McBride going insane. Oh, all of a sudden the guy can catch touchdowns, which, I mean, why we think he couldn't, I don't know. That was strange. But he'll be a really interesting conversation this summer. I mean, what are they going to do with Murray? I guess they're probably going to move on, right? But it won't be Brissett.
I think
so what are they going to move on to? Yeah, okay.
No,
so what
Murray.
do? You know that McBride has this upside of a second-round pick, but under Murray, he's more of a 3-4 turn kind of guy. So we'll see who ends up in what tiers. There's always like some question marks that start happening in the second and third round. But I mean, he's been incredible. I mean, we know what the ceiling is now. We thought it was high, and now we're seeing that it's even higher.
Yeah. And speaking of that, Jacoby Brissett did set the NFL record for completions. I've been getting into some arguments with a couple friends, Austin and Ben specifically, on the viability of Jacoby Brissett past last week. But even despite that, I still love Michael Wilson over 55.5 and Greg Dortch over 25.5. Not because I think either of them are elite game breaking talents. I think Michael Wilson's good. I've always been on him. He was one of my favorite late best ball picks. But I just feel like that's an undercorrection. Because coming off a 180-yard game for Mike Will, like, I think he can put up 80. I think he can put up 60. And at a minimum, Greg Dortch is a part of their offense with Marvin Harrison out with, what is it, not wanting to catch the ballitis?
Appendicitis. So, not sure. Not sure what's wrong with them. Michael Wilson, man, he was so good last week, and I've been in on Michael Wilson for a couple of years now. So to see the breakout was awesome. My buddy Ethan in the morning told me that was like the hype line of the week, and no, it was not high enough. So I like to take it 55.5. My one problem is that we haven't seen a game where Arizona close to the opponent and is not getting blown out in the first quarter and having to come back and throw the entire game. And this game, just if I don't like Jacksonville, I kind of like the defenses overall. Jacksonville's pass defense isn't great, but I don't know, under 47.5 paired with Michael Wilson, under 55.5 paired with the Brian Thomas line. If he plays under, like, play some sloppy under on this thing and see what kind of odds you can get.
I don't hate that. I don't hate the full under call on this one, but let's move it on to a much more fun game. Tampa at the LA Rams, -6.5 to the LA Rams, 49.5 over under. And you know what? This feels like a trap game for the LA Rams. We saw them squeak away a win, a little bit less of a beatdown last week than I anticipated, at least. I think Tampa actually has a competent offense that can compete in this one, and I think it's going to be a closer game than we're expecting.
You're probably right, but when I look at the two teams in a vacuum, I just think, oh, the Rams are such a better team than
They are.
the Bucs right now. The Bucs offense was able to compete, but how good is Buffalo's defense right now? Like, they've been terrible, and
Yeah,
the
Tampa's
Bucs
been
defense remains trash. Stafford has been excellent passing the ball all year against a poor pass defense. It's the NFL, so anything can happen, but I struggle getting behind the Rams not being great. I mean, last week, yeah, they squeaked one away, but it was a divisional matchup, and they took care of business, and now they got to continue to take care of business. I mean, they have a chance at the 1 seed here. After this week, They take on Carolina on the road, something they play Arizona on the road, a home game against Detroit in Week 15, at Seattle in Week 16, Atlanta 17, Arizona 18. So they got some really critical games down the stretch. I don't think they can afford to slip this one right now with everything that's on the line for that division.
No, I'm not sure they can. And I don't think LA is going to lose. I just think it might be a 3-pointer. Like, this one feels like one of those sneaky, like, almost upset sort of situations. But
sure,
if you like the Rams, and I know you do, who are you liking from there? Are you sticking with the chalk?
Oh, it's time to get back to Puka. He really hasn't done all that much. He had 95 yards 3 weeks ago, 64 last week, 75. His over/under receptions line has been 7.5. But you look early in the season, 10 receptions, 8 receptions, 11 receptions, 13, 10. So hasn't quite been the same since the injury, but they also haven't needed him as much. And in this game, if you think it's staying close, we know that the Bucs pass defense has been pretty atrocious throughout the year. So I like Puka. I mean, Devontae Adams, he's getting it done around the goal line. He's good we had 1 catch for 1 yard and a touchdown last week. Puka's the guy for the yards, and the breakout's coming. I mean, this year is this year is the last chance to get on board the Puka train, because that thing will have left the station. And he kind of showed it early, and now we're off the scent a little bit because of the injury, and now 3 games since. But Puka is a top 3 receiver in the league potentially,
if not 1. Yeah,
right.
I've gotten in a lot of arguments actually with dude from the chat yesterday. Kirill, one of our developers, is a huge Puka Nacua fan, and he has been preaching Puka Nacua is actually the best wide receiver in the NFL for about 2.5 years, and I've always pushed back. But there's a lot of evidence it's mounting because Justin Jefferson and in less effect Jamar Chase, because Jamar Chase does have T. Higgins, don't necessarily have Devontae Adams on their team, and Puka definitely makes Devontae Adams look like an auxiliary weapon.
Yeah, I mean, can't. It's hard to cover both of them, but yeah, Chase has T. Higgins. I just think Puka is good. You need a catch. You need somebody over. You 4 catches in a drive out of nowhere, and Chase can do that once in a while, but not like Puka.
No. And it looks really good. It's a scheme thing because I think that Puka in a different system would not be as prolific. Like, I think he'd be great, but I think that it would be a rougher watch than it is in the Sean McVay system that absolutely utilizes every skill set he has. But let's break it down into our next one here. You added this one to the show sheet. I was actually hoping this was the one you added. Carolina at SF, over under of 49.5. Who are you taking in this one?
Oh, well, I lost my shirt last week on Ricky Pearsall coming off the injury. He pulled the full-blown George Kittle on us, being out there for over 80% of snaps, but having 1 catch for 0 yards, which was, George Kittle had 0 catches for 0 yards in his return when he played almost every snap. But then he bounced back the next game, and I fully expect that from Ricky Pearsall. Getting healthier, got up to game speed this past week, and the fact that his line is only at 42.5 means that the market believes that he's not fully healthy yet. Could be the case, but then why do you play 80% of snaps last week? Takes on Carolina at home, and the ongoing theory right now between Austin, my best bud, and I is that the Niners defense is the new Cowboys, the new Cincinnati D in the league. We've seen little elements of this, but they're getting the job done, and I think we think good things for the Niners offense. But over under is 49.5 in this game. I really do love Pearsall at 42.5, less than the game total.
I love that. Yeah, it's a fantastic line, and I think it's a good call out. I like the Jennings line, that one too, but the line I like even more is the Bryce Young undercorrection line. I love when Vegas just sticks to their laurels and says, you know what, Bryce Young's been bad all year. He had one good game. His over-under is at 204. Give me that over-under every day of the week. I'm not a huge Bryce Young guy, but I agree. San Francisco's defense has been nothing but friendly to quarterbacks. So Bryce Young, I think over 204 is likely, and you can probably pair that with Coker. You could pair that with Rico Dowdle. You could pair it with Chuba Hubbard. You could even pair it with Teteroa McMillan. I think all the lines are pretty great on Carolina's side, which is why I like that Bryce over. That's really what I should just be doing with the Bears side too, with Caleb over.
Yeah, the Bryce under, that's a good call. That I definitely could see. Not Chuba. I don't think you can play Chuba right now, but Dowdle, I like him. His TD line will probably be too low because it's just expected at this point. And but I think leaning into the idea that the Niners D is not very good. Maybe Rico carries. I haven't looked at what the number is.
Could happen.
But you'd expect them to lean on him in this game in a back and forth effort.
Well, we're going to get out of here with some props.
Combined.
Yeah. I
Rico
love the
combined
one. Yeah,
Rico
you
combined.
could hit that. Yeah, let's hit that Rico combined. I'm super with you on that one. We're going to break it into our props here, and then we're going to get out of here because we have some football to watch, and I'm going to see what the other transition sounds like. I like that one too.
Nice.
So let's hear some props. You got the first one on here.
Yeah, I like Justin Jefferson TD at plus 195. He's got, 2 TDs on the season, and we don't like his quarterback right now. I hear you. I hear that there are challenges in Minnesota, but at the end of the day, when Justin Jefferson's almost getting 2-1 for a touchdown, I'm in.
Take it.
Something to root for.
With you there. Could not agree anymore. I was actually about to add one of the next 3 that you had on there. You're normally the guy that's on the props. I tend to throw a couple of those game ones on there, but Andre Yoshibas at over 37.5. my home league team is dependent on him and AD Mitchell, and that shows you who I was depending on this past set of weeks. But Yoshivas, I'm believing in you. I think they got it.
Yeah, I think he's actually been all right, at least over 37.5 yards all right when Jamar Chase doesn't play. New England's pass defense has not been very good. Christian Gonzalez will spend most of his time on T. Higgins, and they expect this to be a relatively high-scoring game with Cincinnati at home. As you said, they're kind of playing for their playoff lives. New England is still due for a stinker at some point. I don't know if stinker means a 0 after the mini bye. I do think that their offense comes out and continues to cook. I did write lower down on this list Henderson. I haven't had a chance to look into what his different lines look like, but they might be too high this week after the last couple, but I expect him to still be very involved in. I know Ramondre is coming back, but let's still remember this is a terrible Cincinnati defense who's been giving it up to everybody. So I also added a couple other New England names that I definitely like and wanted to make a call on.
Totally agree there.
Yeah.
Hit it.
Yeah, Hunter Henry over 32.5. The Cincinnati is the worst defense against tight ends, and Hunter Henry, he hasn't been great since early in the season, which is kind of his MO, but I think he'll be an important weapon in this game as New England continues to move the ball up and down the field. And then Booty's line is not out yet, but he has been pretty automatic this year, catching 1 or 2 deep balls a game. So intrigued by what his lines might be, including his TD prop. I think he steps back into his role, removes the need for a bunch of Mac Hollins, who we know what Mac Hollins is. He's out there. He can get the job done with his shoeless approach or whatever outfit he has on that day. But at the end of the day, I think they'll give that back to Booty upon his return. And then, Yoshi. So let's play the overs in that game.
Super agree. I think that one's going to be a bit more of a fun game than we're giving it credit for. I don't know if Joe Burrow's coming back for that one.
I don't think so.
I don't think he is. A lot of people have been telling me that he is up next, and I'm not quite sure that he'll be in for this one. I think it's time to continue rolling out Flacco. But aside from this, you're just rolling out tight ends left and right. Tell us why we should like Kyle Pitts.
I did not. This must be left over or something. I thought you were on Pitts.
Oh, thank goodness. Yeah, I was gonna say, you're gonna need to do some convincing here because I have not seen anything from the Falcons that makes me want to believe in Kyle Pitts right now. In fact, take the under.
No, I can't take the under without London there this week. Mooney's been terrible. Pitts has been terrible. He hasn't had a touchdown since week 4, and I kind of like New Orleans this week to take down Atlanta. I mean, this team is floundering. I'm sure the defense is going to want to step up, but New Orleans looked good before their break. They got a much-needed week off. They got maybe a little post-bye bump for Sal. Why did I forget his name all of a sudden? Shuck. And I think New Orleans takes care of business against Atlanta, but don't really want to talk about that game because that's a skip.
No, it's certainly a skip. That one didn't even consider being on my list. But we got one more here. We talked a lot about Higbee being out. Colby Parkinson had some decent weeks. Is it finally Terrence Ferguson time? Does the coach speak come true?
Gosh, there's been so much coach speak, but so little action. Well, now there's 3 tight ends, and they will continue to do their 3 tight end sets. Parkinson got the TD last week, but Stafford didn't throw for a bunch of yards. Ferguson could easily hit an alt. He had, a 33, 34-yard reception a couple weeks ago, and it doesn't take much to get him 2 or 3 catches. So this could be a great opportunity against that poor pass defense that we talked about with the Bucs. So that's kind of where I'm looking is at Puka and Ferg.
Yeah, and our other illustrious co-host, Chev, was on Terrence Ferguson for this week as well. I was checking over his ranks with him earlier today, and if the tight end whisper is with you, I think you are on the right side of history. But you got anything else for us, Scott, or are we good to go and cutting it just before 7 p.m.?
Let's go. We got another week ahead of us. I think we got plenty of bets to recover from where we were at last week, and I'm excited to get going, especially after talking through some of these lines with you today.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. And, you know, as always, you can find me, Addi the Nardugnarder, the Duck League champ, on all of the social medias. Be sure to check us out on the app and Google Play Store on the League Champ one. We have some big stuff coming in the coming weeks. Champ Rocco has graced us with some very good news, and we'll announce it going into next week. But where can they find you, the Chow Chow champ, Scott?
I'm Chunks, your Chow Chow champ. You can find me on X at SMaltest or in the Underdraft streets as Chunks.
Awesome, awesome. And you know what they always say, go back to the well. Ah, damn, I didn't even have one for this week. Well,
Drake
shit.
London forever. Kyle Pitts absolutely never.
Darn right. All right, we're ending it there. Let's go, Scott.